Welcome back, everyone. So this is kind of a continuation on my last video where I fixed up this old trans audio turntable. I fitted it with a brand new belt, and we tested it a little bit by hooking it up to that Bose wave radio thing, and it actually worked, but we couldn't really get any indication on sound quality because, well, you need a preamp to use a turntable, or a stereo with a built-in preamp. So I went out looking for a stereo, and I was going to go on Facebook Marketplace to see if I could find a nice... I was hoping for something older, you know, something early 80s, late 70s, something analog, because analog works really well. And before I even had a chance to punch in a search query, I got a direct message from one of my loyal subscribers and friend. He does not have an online or a social media presence. He's decided to live his life offline, and I envy him for that. So we're going to call him Mr. K. Mr. K contacted me and said, "Hey, I've got this old stereo that I bought brand new in 1979, I think he said, 78 or 79. And I paid for it with my entire tax refund check. And you might want to come and take it off my hands if you..." And I said, "Well, okay, thank you, Mr. K." So I just drove a combined 4 hours to pick up my new stereo for Mr. K. And got some speakers to go with that stereo. Now these have seen better days. But they're solid. They're good speakers. These are... oh, we haven't heard them yet, but they appear to be all there. This one's a little damaged. It looks like a little musty. That's okay. The cones are still good, and they move freely. And the surrounds, I'm going to lightly clean these up. Maybe a little bit of window cleaner or something. There's actually rubber treatments I could use. These are a polyurethane. It looks like a polyurethane surround with a paper cone. This one fared a little bit better, but they're all fairly free. They're not really damaged too bad. But they're perfect basement speakers. I mean, let's be honest. This isn't going in the living room. It's going to live in the basement. That's where all the good tunes live. And go to the back here. I believe these are 8 ohms. These are factory Yamaha NS5s. Oh, it gets better, guys. Trust me. Made in USA. That's surprising. The cabinets are actually in really good shape. I mean, most speaker cabinets are made out of MDF, medium density fiberboard, because it's low cost. And it's fairly acoustical. Seems like every speaker cabinet I've ever owned, regardless of price range, has been made of this stuff. But they're not swollen. There's no moisture damage. We're gonna have to put them on some kind of stand, because we want to keep them that way. Simulated wood grain. We're gonna be cleaning these up a bit. I think you know what? I think a little bit of love with a magic eraser will take these marks off. And we'll do something with the speaker cones. I'm not sure what yet. As for the grills, we can fix these. Yes, we can. They're also made out of MDF, but they do need to be rewrapped, and I will rewrap them. I'll put new cloth on them and make them look brand new again. But for now, we're going to set them aside. The gentleman I got these from has 2 cats, and cats and speaker grills, not a good combo. Put those over there for now. let's take a look at the PA stabilization. The stereo. And here she is. The Yamaha Natural Sound CR-620. This is one of the most beautiful stereos from that time period I have ever laid my eyes on. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. It even has this little plug for the to protect the headphone jacks. I think that's pretty cool. And you know the funny thing is, we actually have the original headphones, the Yamaha orthopedic headphones or whatever. You know, it's very rare to find something like this intact. Mr. K, I know you're watching this. Thank you very much. You've made my day. These headphones, while probably not very usable anymore, a lot of damage to the headband, which is pretty common. These are a good find. These really are. Just for the historical, I mean, not many people have seen headphones that are from this time period. It's still in could be working condition. I can't wait to test these out. But it gets even better because in this envelope we have the original paperwork. The owner's manual, the CR-620 owner's manual. It's a little hard wearing, but I know if I know this person as well as I think I do, he probably read this cover to cover many times. We've got, of course, look at the tape machine. Looks like a cassette player. 8-track. Oh man, this takes you back, huh? Look at that. What's lovely about these late 70s stereos is they were really well made. These old Japanese stereos were made really well. And this isn't Yamaha's top-of-the-line receiver, but for, I think he said he was 19 years old when he bought it. It was, in his eyes, top of the line. And I'm sure he wasn't happy about paying what he paid for this. He didn't tell me what he paid, but I'm sure that information could be looked up as to what these sold for new. But the fact that it's just so clean, and look, and here's the thing. You know what's in the news a lot lately is right to repair. And that includes having access to schematics. And look at this. Look at this. Hold on. I'm going to keep going through. I'm not going to bother reading all this. But it gives you so much detail. Just the audio properties. But look at this. So this is a copy of the schematics. But right there in the manual, it gives you the full schematic of the entire system. And here are the specs. So what do we got? 50 watts continuous. Really? No way. That's pretty cool. 50 watts continuous. Minimum output per channel is 40 watts at 4 ohms and 35 at 8 ohms. So I think those are 8 ohm speakers. Let's see. It didn't actually say on the speaker box. So we got 16 ohm or, hold on a second here, 4 to 16, 8 to 16. So A and B. Oh, here we go. A or B, it's 4 to 16. A and B is 8 to 16 ohms. I get how they, I see how they're doing that. On the back panel, you've got your FM antenna. That would have been like one of those tape type antennas that would connect to this. I'll have to pick one of those up. This is our AM antenna, ground for the AM band. And a phonograph actually would connect to that. But you could connect your exterior antenna to that as well. I think you're supposed to ground these for best AM reception. I think the stereo should be grounded. Input, we got phonograph. We can do an auxiliary, so that can be for our CD player. Tape in and out, tape in and out. So that works. That works. I don't have an auxiliary input for, say, oh wait, no, tape 1 or 2. So tape 1 or 2 could be our either a Bluetooth receiver or perhaps a just a connector to that laptop. I might use that laptop over there as a digital receiver, if you will. We've got three outlets on the back, two unswitched and one switched. So the switched one is going to go to the phonograph, and the unswitched, that is going to power our tape and CD decks. Let's see. But this can drive two sets of speakers, it looks like. So that's pretty cool. So I can have a set of speakers over there, and I can have a set, you know, elsewhere throughout the house. I'm just thinking ahead here. Let's see. If any of you care about this, I'm just going to go through this line by line. You can see what we got going on here. Some people, you know, are really into the spec side of things, so I'm going to just kind of go over this so you guys can see what we got going on. But honestly, the documentation is incredible. I don't know why he has a printout of the schematics, if this thing had been repaired at any point. Here's what I suspect, though, before we even power it on. Look at this. It's like a sales brochure. I bet you he did all the research, saved up his pennies. This guy, he's very meticulous. So it doesn't surprise me that this thing is in such good condition. All right. Now, compared to the stereo that I restored for my dad, which was a 1979 Yorks, this thing is worlds apart from that. This is a real stereo. This is the kind of stereo that would have been advertised in Playboy magazine. Literally, if you've ever looked at... Hey, I don't judge, and I would appreciate not being judged. But if you've ever looked at a Playboy magazine, especially between like 1970 and 1990, probably even later than that, stereos and alcohol were the two things that kept that magazine afloat. Stereo manufacturers and alcohol manufacturers just flooded the ad space of the Playboy magazine. It was all about the stereo, man. Back then, you know, if you were a swinging bachelor, you had to have bitchin' tunes, and that is what these stereos represented. So you're, depending on how old you are, your father or your grandfather even probably owned a really nice stereo. He may have owned nothing else, but he owned a nice stereo back in the day, if he was doing all right financially. Every swinging bachelor had a nice stereo back in those days. That's just how it was. Computers weren't really a thing yet for the masses, but stereos, well, they got you well, anyway, it's a PG rated channel. Just saying. All right. Before I even hook the stereo speakers up, let's just turn it on and see what happens. Now, what I expect blown bulbs. Okay? But this whole dial should light up. Let's just kind of level these all out here. Tuner, let's see. Volume. Mono, so that's for your mono. Should be stereo. A and B. You could, yeah, I've never had a tuner that could actually power both A and B channels simultaneously. I should be able to get at least one particular channel out of this. So it looks like our dial and our VU meter bulbs are burned, so we're going to have to put those in the list of things to fix. All right, let's hook up some speakers to it. I'm going to try to find a talk station so I can at least demonstrate how it runs. We're going to check all the potentiometers, all the controls for static, or not static, but for scratchiness. We might have to clean some of those up with a little bit of deoxit. Looking at the back, all of these connectors are in pretty sorry shape. We're going to clean those up with a little bit of steel wool, and that should get those up and running, and a little bit of deoxit for the center pins. So let's get some speakers hooked up, and we'll go from there. Alright, let's see how she performs. So, looks like the volume balance control. The outer ring is volume, inner ring is balance. Speaker A. We got sound. No scratchiness there. Okay. A little scratchiness on the loudness. We'll clean them all if we can. Alright. We'll clean them all. Just get them all done. FM mono. So we want that to be on. Alright. Alright, I got a channel to come in without any antenna whatsoever. The balance control scratchy. The everything else seems to be okay though. Lights are out. We're going to replace all the lights because why not? That'll be in a future video. I don't have the lights here. Everything else seems to be okay. Pretty reasonable. So weighted tuning knob. That was a thing. I'm not sure why this FM muting. So if it's on, off should be FM mono. And yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look at what that's supposed to do. We've got it on FM. That all seems to work okay. So the indicators are fine. The FM stereo indicator may not be lighting up. I don't know why that is. All right. I think I know what we need to do. So let's tear it apart. Grab a screwdriver. So if I'm right, I should be able to just remove these right here. The whole thing should slide right out of the case. I noticed that there looked to be, it looks like somebody moved the, there's got to be a reason why he did that. But somebody moved or relocated these standoffs, or the feet, for some reason. Sometimes people would do that to fit an oddly sized stereo shelf or cabinet. We'll put them back where they belong. I'm going to need to anyway. Now, I know that at least 80% of my viewers are going to ask, why don't I recap this thing, replace all the capacitors? I'll do that if I find out that it has poor audio quality at higher volumes, but otherwise, I'm not going to bother. It might benefit from it, though, for sure. I mean, the thing is, 43 years old, so a recap job might be a pretty good idea after 43 years, but we're not going to do that. This statement, by the way, did not age very well. A little foreshadowing, but just keep that statement in mind. All right, let's continue watching. I just don't think I need to. Oh, wow. This is pretty cool. Let's put this in a safe place. Let's take a look. So this is not a tube style receiver, amplifier. But check this out. This is pretty cool. I gotta say, Japanese electronics from this time period are just the bee's knees. I mean, really, I mean that in the corniest way possible. Look at they used universal joints to connect the front controls. That is so cool. I've never seen that before. Tuning dial is about what you'd expect. There's that heavy ass weight that I was talking about. But look at how it's strung up to a variable capacitor. It doesn't get more analog than this. Now, our LED, here we go. Here's our lights. These are burned up. I might have some left over from my Mazda stereo restoration. I could probably... So there's 1, 2, 3 there. And I think there's a fourth one. Not there. Let's see. There should be one on the tuning dial. We'll have to figure out how we're going to get to that. I don't think we're going to be able to. To be honest, I don't think we're going to be able to get it. Because it's, yeah, it's buried in there. So the tuning dial should have one, and there should be one on each of these meters. I don't believe there's supposed to be one behind the tuning dial glass. Maybe on either side, but I don't see a spot for it. So that, there goes that theory. How about over here? Nope, that's just 2 indicators, power and FM stereo. Pretty sparse though. I love that. Aluminum shafts to a universal joint. That is man, these guys they knew what they were doing. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a paintbrush. We're gonna clean up the board. Just kind of loosen this up. This is unplugged and no, as far as static electricity, I mean, probably not going to blow anything up on this unit for sure. Not too concerned. So these are the 2 caps that drive the amp, and I see 4 smaller ones behind it. When you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're not, look for any potentiometers. Try not to touch those. There's one right there, there's one there. But just be very delicate around those. Unless you throw something out of alignment. Alright. Kind of clean it up a bit. Some folks might take issue with my methods, and to them I say, well, don't do what I do. There you go. Alright. Let's grab some deoxit. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and just kind of spray any rotary switches that we come across. Oh, this is cool. Oh, let me show you. This is interesting. So you'll notice how we have these jack shafts here, and it gets cooler. Those jack shafts actually turn looks like just a standard spur gear. See that gear there? Well, that moves the slide switch back and forth. That is pretty clever. I have to give them credit for that. That is some clever engineering. So the first thing I'm going to do we're going to clean these out with a little bit of air. Then I'm going to take some cleaner and lubricant designed for rotary controls and contacts and such. We're going to spray some of that in there. It already sounds better. There we go. Oh yeah, that's a little more crisp. For those of you who remember that video I did with my dad's old stereo, it's still working. And I did all that work, what, 7 months ago? So that's going to keep those from failing on us. Now the rotary controls, I should be able to get a little bit of cleaner in there fairly easily. So let me do the air thing on those as well. Those are up front. Yeah, get some, blow the dust out of those. And what I find is if I take this this contact cleaner and lubricant and I just spray it in an area where it can dribble down the board. So there's one for each channel. So this gives you the contact cleaning of regular deoxit with a lubricant additive to it. And that should take care of our balance control. And up front, we've got some push contact or push switches. Those aren't really the problem. I can't get to the treble, loudness, and bass controls because they're way underneath. Now I'd have to do some extensive disassembly, which I don't really want to do here. I don't want to take things apart that I don't have to. That just invites problems. You understand, I assume. Well, let's see. I might be able to get something in there, but I gotta get it on its face without damaging it. So let's get a towel. But yes, the proper thing to do on a radio of this age would absolutely start pulling caps. Alright, so I did some testing after we cleaned the board up a bit, and we repaired, or sprayed some rotary dial cleaner and lubricant into the mode selector switch, both of them, and what else did we do? Yeah, pretty much that's all we did. Your basic 5-minute tune-up. And I actually had it playing for a bit, and it was sounding really good. All the controls work nice and smooth now. Everything's good to go. The scratchiness and the balance control went away. Balance control worked flawlessly. Pretty good, pretty good. Oh, but no, it's not good because it died. Yeah. Allow me to demonstrate. Turn the power on. We're getting power, so the power supply is supplying power. But guess what? Guess what we're not getting? No relay click on the amp board. Now, while it was playing, I heard this channel go out. It started to fizzle, and I could smell something burning. So I flipped the power off real quick. I kind of wish I'd left it on, so that way I'd be more, the damage would be more obvious. But, you know, it is what it is. So here's what happened. Remember when I was talking earlier about capacitors, and, you know, maybe you don't have to replace every capacitor in a system like this because they were pretty good quality caps. They're not leaking. You know, why not just... Look, I'm going to eat my words. Because I think the real problem is one or two of these caps, maybe just one of these, has shorted out internally or with high ESR. And unfortunately, when that occurs, it creates a short circuit on the board somewhere, which can cause catastrophic damage further down the line. So we don't know what happened. We don't know what blew. There's no visual. Even though I could smell burning, there is no visual damage to any of the... Now, the smell, by the way, the smell is what matters. It smelled like a transistor. So that is what I could. I smelled a transistor burning, but I don't know which one. And this stereo will not allow me to power it back up completely because it knows there's something wrong. Whatever built-in checks are in place are doing their job, and they're not allowing the unit to fully power up. So it won't finish the job, so to speak. There's no relay click. So this is not an uncommon problem with old electronics. This is actually, I should have expected this. Stereo is 43 years old. You know, shit happens. You know, I mean, really, it's old, and that's just the nature of the beast. So what I should have done in retrospect is I should have recapped at a minimum the power and amp board. I should have replaced every cap on the board. But now, what was going to be now I was going to do that. Like, that was the plan. I was going to recap the board at some point. But now, it's become a repair mission. We have to find a problem that we can't see. And I'm not very good with troubleshooting board level issues. I'm just not. But what we do know, and this might help somebody somewhere down the line, what we do know is that the tuner works. So if I turn the tuning dial here, I can actually see it tuning in stations. So the tuner's working. We know that much. That's half the battle. Well, it really isn't. But the good news is, though, yeah, the tuner board's functioning. It is definitely something on the power amplifier board. We just need to figure out what it is. There's a lot of transistors. Any one of these could be bad. Now, the right way to diagnose a transistor individually is to pull it from the board, put a meter to it. There's actually a transistor testing. I actually have one, but it doesn't work. Well, so might as well not have one at all. But there is a tool that you can use. It's made by. Hold on a sec. It was sitting right there. I had one of those. It was a dead unit that was left over from Mr. John Bachman's shop, and I ended up taking it because it was one that was returned, and I was gonna try to mess with it, and well, it's gone. I think I threw it out. It was dead. But anyway, yeah, there are LCR. That's it. LCR. That's the company. They're the ones. They're based out of Great Britain, but they make a tool that has 3 alligator clips, and it will identify and test each component. But they can't be used in circuit. So what I would have to do is just start lifting legs on things. So we know the caps are probably shot. So we're going to recap it. I'm going to replace all the big ones, the usual suspects. These two, all these, the big ones. They're easy to do, easily accessible, not a big deal. We're going to start there, and then we're going to start shooting for, I don't know how to diagnose this board. I'm just going to lay that on the line right there. I don't know where to start. I have a schematic for it. Funny how that would come into play here. Didn't expect that. But we have a schematic, so that's better than nothing. And I can always scan this in and zoom in on it to make it more readable. So we can at least see, you know, what voltage rails are supposed to connect to what, you know. And hopefully that'll help us out. But it's really unfortunate because this is a very nice and fairly sought-after unit. So we're not scrapping this thing. We're not throwing it away. We're not going to blow it up with fireworks. We're not going to do anything stupid like that. We're going to fix it. It's going to take a while, but we're going to fix it. It's well worth it. I was actually looking at maybe buying a parts unit, one that isn't blown up yet, and then just recap that one. Holy shit. I was not expecting that. Look up the price on a CR-620 right now on eBay. It's ridiculous. Well, it's not ridiculous. It is what it's worth. So far, these are selling for $400 in this condition, with manuals, with not a scratch on the cabinet at all. They're worth real money. More than I was ever willing to spend on a unit like this. I paid nothing for mine, which was very kind. By the way, thank you, Mr. K. You are you're a good guy. But I just blew up your childhood stereo. I'm not sure how you feel about that, but we're gonna try to save her, one way or the other. I'm gonna do what I can to get this thing running again. It's gonna be a challenge, but I think it's well worth the effort. So we could have a blown resistor somewhere. We could have definitely a transistor. There's a transistor somewhere on this that let out the magic smoke, and we don't know which one it is. I can't smell anything anymore, so the smell's gone. Usually that's a good indicator. You can sniff the board and you can find out where it let loose. That gives you a starting point, and then you just trace back from there. But one of these blew the hell up, and I don't know which one it was. So let me unplug the power before I start getting my fingers in there. There we are. But yeah, it's a shame that this happened, because again, very sought after unit. You know, I'm looking at those B560, a D438. If you look at the base of the leads, they're black, but they're all black. Every one of them, including on the tuner board. It's like they're painted or coated with something. You know, so that's not an indicator of failure. I wish it was, because it'd make my job a lot easier. But we know that the protection circuit isn't allowing the unit to fully power up. So that indicates that there's a short somewhere. And no, we didn't cause it. I look. I did what I did. I did what everybody does. You know, that's not related to what happened here. It would have done this eventually anyway. It has nothing to do with what I did. I know some of my viewers are going to try to harass me about, you know, shouldn't have touched it. Well, the reality is, I kind of had to, because again, balance control was scratchy. You know, you could tell that these weren't moving very smoothly, so there was some gunk built up in here. Look, don't even go there. Cleaning the dust off the board is actually a good thing, and using a paintbrush is an acceptable method with a can of compressed air. That is how you clean these boards. That is one method that is pretty widely accepted. So I'm not gonna blame myself for this, because again, it's a 43-year-old receiver. A lot of these passive components, like these capacitors, they are way beyond expected lifespan. So this was now one thing that's kind of curious. I zoom in over here. You see that oily substance right there? Okay, that wasn't from me, as far as I know, because I didn't shoot any cleaner back that way. So my thought was, okay, a capacitor let loose on this board. So I grabbed my my mirror, which is, it might be over here still. I have a little handheld mirror, and oh, there it is. And I looked, because I can't see the other side of that board, so I used the mirror to kind of look above it and see if any caps had let loose the juice, you know what I'm saying? And that didn't seem to be the case. They all look to be intact. But that was a key. Let me clean this off. But when you see a puddle of what looks like electrolyte, that's kind of a key indicator that something is amiss. But you would see that one of these little caps had blown its top, but that didn't happen. They all look to be pretty good and intact, every one of them. But that was my first guess, honestly. Oh, you son of a bitch. But yeah, those all look to be good. I don't see any blown resistor that's blown. If you're lucky, it discolors. Or looking for, like, see those transistors right there? Finding one that's missing a chip, that's been busted. And then you've got these tantalum capacitors in the back. I think those orange drops are tantalums. Let's see. You know, sometimes those blow up. But that's another thing, is tantalum capacitors can blow up suddenly and violently. And that's what happened. If you watch EEV blog, I forget his name. Is it Simon? He looks like a Simon. His name should be... Oh, it's Dave. He had a compact portable... Now, he's an electrical engineer by trade. He knows his stuff. But he was doing a demonstration of a compact portable. And he went to go turn it on, and it was a working machine previously. It worked fine. It goes to turn it on, and it just blew up immediately. And that was because a tantalum capacitor just finally had given up. And you know, that's the thing with vintage electronics, computers, stereos, televisions. I mean, these things happen. They can happen at any time. So if you go on eBay and you don't know much about electronics, or you know less than I do, which it's not saying much. I don't know a hell of a lot about board level stuff, diagnostics in that case, but you spend $400 on one of these stereos on eBay because that's what they're selling for, and you plug it in, you're all excited, you got your hi-fi all set up, you got your turntable, you turn it on, and it just goes kaboom. Maybe it works for 10, 15, maybe it works for a day, and then it blows up. And your first reaction is, I need a refund. I'm going to go to PayPal, and I'm going to complain because, oh my God, it blew up. I got ripped off. Well, no, you didn't. You just bought a 43-year-old stereo, and it did what a 43-year-old stereo is going to do. You know, just your expectations. In my case, I didn't pay anything for this, so I'm not out any money, but I do need to fix this thing one way or the other. Now, could it be one of these transistors? Could be. It could be. But we'd have to remove these and test them with a component analyzer. I think you can do it with a multimeter. I'm not sure how, though. I'm going to have to look into that. So again, I'm heartbroken because it's a beautiful stereo. I had all the plans in the world for it, but that does not have to end now. We can still move forward with our plans. We just have to repair it. So I'll do another video on replacing all the caps. I'm going to make a list of what's on here. I'm going to have to order those through Mouser. We'll put all new caps in it and see where it goes from there. Is it a bad transistor? Probably. Could be a bad resistor. No, I think it's a bad transistor. That's what I think it is. But there's black stuff on all of these. So these leads were coated or painted or something. I don't know why they did that, but they did. And obviously all three fuses are intact. They're not blown. So it's never a fuse. Remember that. Words to live by. It's never a fuse. And if you're a fan of Dr. House, it's never lupus. And on that note, have a great day. Just a quick follow-up. I tested all the big resistors Now these are known to go in these, and they're all within value. I tested them in circuit, and they pulled up perfectly in value. All 4 of these did too, and I didn't check that one, but it's a start. So again, caps, and then we'll probably look at some transistors. I know that smell well. It was a transistor that overheated, and it was probably due to a bad cap. But I think it didn't just overheat. I think it blew, and just that we don't know. And the funny thing is, like, the audio quality was impeccable. Of course, I couldn't play it on camera, but the audio quality was crystal clear. It was perfect. There was no 60 hertz hum, nothing like that. It was clear as a bell, and it sounded pretty bassy. It was good. Everything was great. And then just out of nowhere, this side went out, and then the whole unit just shut down. And I could smell that lovely burning transistor smell. Yeah, but none of these appear to be. Oh well, wait a minute. That one is very discolored, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything either. You know, that one's gray. It should be black, but. Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, hard to say, really, what could have been the culprit. I could have sworn I felt something hit my forehead, too. So, what I'm looking for is catastrophic. I have reason to believe that one of them, it actually would have lost some of its casing. I felt something hit my forehead. I know that. I didn't mention that earlier, did I? So it's gonna be a rough ride for sure. But this thing's worth fixing. No question, it's worth fixing. I just need to spend the time and effort, and we gotta figure it out. But there's no rush. It's not getting any more obsolete, so I'm not in any rush to fix it. But I'm definitely looking at power supply, amplifier board, most definitely. But nothing else, nothing sticks out to me as obvious. Like, hey, look at me, I blew up and hit you in the head. Nothing looks out of place. That's what makes it so frustrating. And I've looked back behind here, everything seems to be pretty much intact. And it would take a lot to kill one of these. I mean, it would take some major abuse, I would imagine. So I guess what I need to do is just shut up and start writing down capacitor information and get some nice quality, maybe some Panasonics to replace these old guys, and maybe we'll get it running. I look forward to that. I really do. Excuse me. But even the headphone jacks aren't working, so yeah, the whole amp is shut down. So all right, well, onward and upward, my friends. Onward and upward.